11, reporting and analyzing equity. Now, in the end, equity is why we get into the business. Well, there's two reasons why we get into business. One is an income stream. So most people, you get, if you're an owner, typically an operating owner, let's say, not just a silent investor or an investor only. If you're an operating owner, you get two streams of income out of your business. You get let's say your salary, your compensation from the business, plus you get equity growth in the business, which sometimes comes back out as dividends, which is effectively some level of compensation for your investment. But you have a growth in the overall business that at some point you can hand off to somebody else, right? You can sell to somebody else and get a multiplier usually on that equity, because they're going to pay you for essentially what's in that equity, and then what's anticipated to come from the business income for a period of time. Sometimes it's a couple of years if it's a small business. Sometimes if it's a big business, it might be 7 to 10 years worth of income that you'll get a multiplier on. So in this chapter, you're looking at how do we capture transactions associated with equity, right? And so you're going to be focused on, well, what is common stock? How is it typically identified on the income statements, right? Par value, no par value, stated value, and then what if any happens if you give non-cash assets. You're going to go over dividends, right? When the company gives out cash to its investors, how that happens on cash dividends, how do stock splits work? And then you're going to look at preferred stock, which is how it's issued, how its dividends preferences are better than the common stock dividends. And then treasury stock, that's when the company buys back the stock that is issued and effectively owns its own stock. Okay. And so it'll go over the purchasing and reissuing of treasury stock and how that transaction works. And a lot of these things, remember, are just really you're recording something into common stock, which let's say is a credit, and so it's increasing common stock, and it oftentimes is increasing an asset, either cash or possibly if it was a non-cash equity transaction, it might be land or equipment, or it could be a patent, or it could be a lot of other things, right? So your basic journal entries are going to have a debit and credit that flow from the asset and equity side, okay? Well, the only one that probably works, or actually two that work inside of equity only, are your dividends, right? Because you're essentially it's moving money from retained earnings to a dividend account, that debit and credit between there, and then treasury stock, which is going to basically, well, actually that one will include cash as well. So pretty much the only one that flows inside of equity, where the transactions are, a debit and credit to equity counts, are the dividends. And then you can do some reporting analysis. Let's see, retained earnings. Let's see, your earnings per share type of a calculation, your price to earnings ratio, and then your dividend yield. These, generally are straightforward, but it takes a little bit of time, like anything, to learn it, to practice it. So make sure you learn the formula for it, and then just to practice it a couple of times. The more you practice it, the more it'll become familiar. And so when you see the questions on the quiz or on the test, you'll be able to say, okay, earnings per share. Okay, well, what's earnings? Net income per share. So how do you figure out the number of shares, right? Is it average shares? Is it only one point in time for the shares, right? So usually that's an earnings divided by shares, right? So that's being able to describe that to yourself, to your group, and maybe some of these assignments will come out handy. I'll get into this a little bit more when we do the office hours on Wednesday and explain that a little bit better. And that'll be a great preparation for your quiz on Saturday. All right, I think I'm good there. I'm going to split, by the way, I'm going to split these videos out into 3: spiritual thought, what's going on for the week, and a review of the chapter. I'm going to put them on YouTube going on in the future. That way it'll be a little easier for those in other areas that may be difficult to download the videos, you'll be able to just tap into the YouTube channel and grab those videos. Okay, I'll put 3 links in the announcement today, and we'll go from there. Let's see if there's any questions. Let me know. Look forward to talking to anybody who decides they want to show up for the office hours on Wednesday. Take care and have a great week.